There is a supernatural world that surrounds us, and sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. You'll hear about some of these stories and much more right here on Supernatural Confrontations. Today's story is a very dramatic UFO encounter with a subject by the name of Dave. He was on a ship near Catalina Island, and what he saw was absolutely amazing. He comes on the record for the first time here, and we'll get into that. And of course, I'll weigh in on it right after the clip. But first, a word from a very trusted sponsor, BioTrust. Check this out. Studies have revealed that our appearance affects our mental health. The anti-aging industry has tried to capitalize on that for decades. Unfortunately, many of the anti-aging products out there fall short. This is because most of the serums and supplements out there don't target the source of the problem. That's why I'm such a huge fan of multi-collagen. Multi-collagen works to quickly restore youthfulness back to your skin. It helps by combating loose skin and wrinkles and does this quicker and more effectively than anything else. Imagine how good your skin will look this summer with taking it. If you want to look and feel your best, grab some multi-collagen today. Get up to 51% off of the next 24 hours only by going to healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com, or by visiting a link below. As I mentioned, Dave was on a boat near Catalina Island, and you've got to understand something before we even get into the story, that there's a trench there. Catalina Island is about 27 miles from Los Angeles City, from a city coastline right there. It's part of the Channel Islands, which go from Santa Barbara all the way down to San Diego. Interestingly enough, and I've talked about this in my book, On the Trail of the Nephilim, on Catalina Island is where we discovered that photograph of Ralph Glidden with the 9-foot, what I believe was a Nephilim giant. That skeleton was just over 9 feet. And Glidden talked about uncovering some of these, not only that one, but others. And of course, the bones go missing. And well, Glidden couldn't measure, or whatever excuse they use. But that's a very deep trench, and people have seen lots of UFO activity over that area. In fact, some people even posit that there's a UFO base directly right off the coastline, very, very deep. We don't know. There's no way to know. But it is one of the deepest trenches in all the oceans of the world. Isn't it interesting how it's what lies beneath, as it were? So here's our interview with Dave. The beginning of it, he's kind of walking through this, looks like some sort of a retirement complex or whatever, and he finally gets in the car and he settles down a little bit. So bear with us. I think you'll find it very interesting. And of course, on the back end of it, I will weigh in. So I'm here with Dave Williamson. And Dave, you have a story. You emailed me a while back, and now you're in Southern California, and that's kind of why we're hooking up. And I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on the record and alerting the folks that UFOs are in fact real. There's been a great cover-up for decades, and now it's starting to leach forward, which is why we're doing this brand new show called Supernatural Encounters. It's based on people just like yourself who have had an encounter, confrontation, supernatural confrontation, and you're coming on the record. Tell us about what you saw decades ago.
Oh, gosh. I was on a boat headed down to Cabo San Lucas in 1988 in December. I was with four other people, and we were taking off late in December then, and the antenna that was on the top of our
mast,
it broke off because we had a bad windstorm. So I went back up there in the bosun's seat, put it on, and the captain's supposed to put the measurement of the height of the mast in meters. So we put up 50 feet, not meters. So consequently, that made us look like we were 3 times further in, but we were 3 times further out. So we took off the second week of 1989, and we were motoring because our there was no wind, and I take the shift of 5 till 9 in the morning and 5 till 9 at night, and I was doing my night shift. Out of nowhere, I see this white disc start jetting around, going extremely fast. It was just white, seemed to be about 30 feet off the ground, off the water, and about 30 feet wide. And it did 180s, 90-degree turns all over the place. And it continued doing it. It seemed like it was programmed like a computer going all over the place, nonstop. It didn't do any curves. It went straight lines. And then it stopped. And it sat there for like 3 minutes. And I told the guys down below, "You guys get up here. There's a UFO." "Oh, shut up, Dave. Leave this alone." "I'm not kidding. I'm serious. There's a UFO out here." And they were too scared. They couldn't handle this. So we so it takes off, continues doing all these maneuvers, and it seemed like it had to have known we were there because it was about a mile away, something like that. But it didn't seem to care that we were there. And this happened for 20 minutes.
Wow.
I felt like this is unbelievable. I didn't believe in UFOs before that point. I used to make fun of people. I said, "Oh, you guys are, oh, come on." I have felt like these are people that have a need to feel validated and feel important, and maybe can say something that makes people feel impressed that they've seen these things. No, man, I tell you, when you see the real thing, it's like when I was 3 minutes later, we get a call on our radio, and we never used the radio. Then we never called anybody. Nobody called us, but you have to have one out there. And oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you where this was.
Thank you.
This was on the west side of the Catalina Islands. Interesting. Funny how that works out.
Very interesting. We're back in Catalina. Unbelievable.
Yeah, right along the edge, on the side of there. And I didn't know till 4 years later, till 2012, that's where a lot of UFOs are seen. A lot of
UFO activity in that area.
Right.
Yep.
So this thing takes off, and 3 minutes later, we get this call on our radio. They called us 3 times. We answered back 3 times. "This is us." We thought, well, that's kind of weird. About 3 or 4 minutes later, out of nowhere comes this dual prop on either side plane. The kind of thing had to be 120 foot across, like the Navy has. It's gray. The kind of thing you might recall that goes it makes a heavy warble, and it comes from out of nowhere, and it circles our boat once, twice, 3 times. It circled our boat, and then the last time it put its lights on us, as if to say, "Hey, look, we see you," and I don't know, to put the fear of God in this so we won't say anything, maybe. I don't know.
How close did the UFO come to you?
About a mile.
Okay.
About a mile away. And it seemed to stay within a certain area. Oh, yeah. And it looked like it was checking out different places, all programmed in there. And then they find this one. 3 times it found a place that was just sitting there. It sat there for about 3 minutes each. And and
So
did his
this
thing.
was like in the morning around 8 o'clock, something like that?
No, this was at 5:20 in the evening, and about the
Okay.
third week of January 1989.
So it's twilight. It's not dark
Right,
yet. But it's
exactly.
twilight.
Right. It was the sun was just barely going down, and by the time the plane came around, about 5:40, 5:45, it was getting darker, and
Okay.
and we could still see, but yeah, that's the deal.
Was there any noise to this craft at all?
No noise, no vapor trails, no, and you know, when you think of something that might be a reflection, well, one, what do you have to reflect off of? It didn't change shape, and it seemed to be the same size, same speed throughout the whole thing, and until it stopped. So yeah, that's what I saw.
Did it turn on any lights or anything?
No lights. It was all
lights.
just white, and maybe it might have had curves on the edges down like a frisbee. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, it had to have. Excuse me. It had to have, it was curved down a little bit on either side, and like I said, it's about 30 feet across.
Dave, thanks so much for coming on the record. People need to understand that, UFOs are real burgeoning and not going away. And I thank you for your commitment to the truth. And just thank you so much for coming on. Well, there you have it. It's the first time Dave's come on the record. He was sort of reticent to do this when he first contacted me, but he does so now. It's a very interesting story. And I just wish he had photographs. I think the key to me, or the key to the story for me, is this. After the sighting, okay, they're like surrounded. Military people come in with the helicopters and the jets and all this other stuff. They know something's going on. They're radioing them back and forth. So I find that incredibly interesting. Look, folks, here's the deal. We are on the 9th rung of the disclosure ladder. I've talked about that, but we get a lot of new people on the show. And that's why I'll just go through it briefly. 2017, Commander David Fravor on Tucker Carlson. Whatever he saw, that tic-tac shaped object was not of this earth. That's rung number 1 on the disclosure ladder. Number 2, Luis Elizondo, Tucker Carlson. Well, we've got metal that's been retrieved from crashed UFOs. Rung number 3. Now we've tested the metal from these retrieved UFO crash sites, and there's isotopes in the metal not found on this earth. Number 4, the Pentagon admits they have off-world vehicles not made on this earth, not from this earth. It's unbelievable. They've got off-world vehicles not constructed. So pray tell, who made the vehicles and what do they look like? They know exactly who they're dealing with. Number 5, which I find interesting, of course, is the goofy 9-page UFO report that was released a year ago, this coming June, which basically was a big nothing burger. Out of 143 sightings, they didn't know what 142 of them were. You guys know exactly who it is, what it is you're dealing with, but you're just obfuscating things. It's all the good old Texas two-step, as it were. Rung number 6 on the disclosure ladder is when NASA hired priests, theologians, to deal with this whole ET religious aspect, not making this stuff up. Number 7 on the disclosure ladder is, once again, we circle back to Tucker Carlson. And what we see there is when Tucker, it's Brett Baer, who says that women who have been taken, but this is from the Freedom of Information Act, the FOIA, that women have been taken on aboard UFOs and become pregnant. This is my wheelhouse, folks. I've been talking about the abduction phenomena and consequent breeding program literally for decades. Literally for decades. They become pregnant. They stop right there in the report. Guess what? They become pregnant, and in the 3rd month, usually in the 3rd month, but sometimes before, the child was taken, and no one knows where it went. There's no miscarriage, okay? And we've interviewed women that this has happened to. So finally that's coming out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Number 8 is Tucker Carlson, where he sits down with two butchers and basically says, the butchers tell him that who's ever doing these cattle mutilations, this is not predators, it's not some sort of a satanic cult. They know what they're doing and they do it with laser-like precision. That's incredible. Number 9, of course, was the big nothing burger in Congress last week where they discussed UFOs and UAPs, but nothing really was revealed to the public. Folks, this is the coming great deception, in my opinion. I was at Prophecy Watchers Conference in Orlando over the weekend, and I spoke pretty much to a packed room on Saturday night, very late, and I went about 20 minutes overtime. But the folks were all over it, and I just want to thank Bob Ulrich and Gary Stearman. I should maybe say Gary Stearman, Bob Ulrich, and Mando Gonzalez. That's sort of the pecking order, as it were, for inviting me. It was great, and of course we met a lot of folks. I will be at the UFO conference this coming weekend in Vernal, Utah. Hope to see you there. I'll be speaking on Sunday morning with a brand new presentation. That's all I have for Supernatural Confrontations. I'll leave you with this. The supernatural is real. The supernatural world is real and surround us. And sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. If you have a story, please email us at supernatural@lamarzulli.net. Supernatural@lamarzulli.net. We've got a huge backlog of people that we're trying to get in touch with. We're on the road, so it really hampers our ability to communicate as we're in conference mode, but we will get to them. Don't be discouraged. We will email you back. If you've got a story, I would love to hear about it. Thanks so much for watching.